It's currently the year 2021. You may think that in today's world, we've got a pretty tight grip on reality and have a vast understanding of the world around us. Science and technology have indeed come a long way in the last few decades, but that doesn't mean that the world isn't still filled with many mysteries that modern scientists still do not understand. Today, we'll be taking an in-depth look at several unsolved mysteries that have left researchers baffled. Be sure to stick around for number 2, because it's completely crazy and unbelievable. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button to see more videos just like this one. The UFO incident in VARGINHA. This first case takes us to a very strange place, as it tells the story of beings that previously only existed in ancient folklore. Yes, even though stories like this may only seem to pop up in horror films, they can also happen in real life. This unsolved case takes us back to 1996 in the Brazilian city of Varginha. According to locals and police, there have been countless reports of UFOs in this small town, but no one seems to know why this area seems to be a UFO hotspot. These UFO sightings vary greatly between accounts, but there's one report that seems to be happening over and over again. Locals have reported a strange creature that lurks around the city. No one has been able to identify this creature, but reports continue to pour in, prompting authorities to take these sightings seriously. The eyewitness reports all tell stories about the exact same creature. They claim that the being is about 1.6 meters tall with an extremely skinny body. It seems like most people believe this creature is female, but we don't know for sure. It has large, V-shaped teeth and huge eyes that seem to glow red in certain lighting. Some people say that they believe the creature is extraterrestrial, but without having high-quality images and conducting tests on the being, we may never know for sure. What sets this case apart from other odd cases that may seem similar is that the reports began to grow so frequently that the local authorities called in the help of the military to try to track down the beast once and for all. We don't know if the military ever managed to successfully capture the beast, but rumors have begun to spread that claim the military may have killed the creature and taken it back to their base for further testing. The police refuse to confirm or deny these allegations, meaning that this odd creature may still be out there. Meteorite causes mysterious disease. This unsolved case is particularly unusual as it involves a meteor that nearly wiped out an entire town. According to researchers, it's estimated that more than 6 meteorites crash into the Earth every year. The possibility of this happening near you is understandably low, and most meteorites crash in the wilderness without doing too much damage. However, back in 2007, a meteorite crashed into a small village in Peru. No one was hurt from the impact of the meteorite, but it managed to leave behind a hole that measured 10 meters wide and 5 meters deep. Needless to say, the impact of this large chunk of rock shook the nearby homes, and everyone rushed to the site of the crash to see what they could find. Everyone who visited Ground Zero said that the meteorite emitted a very strange smell that they could not describe. The odor was very powerful, and many people began to complain of headaches and nausea. It seems that these symptoms lasted for several days after coming into contact with the meteorite. For most people, these symptoms went away on their own and everyone was able to go about their daily lives. However, for a few unlucky people, these symptoms lasted for a few weeks, and around 12 people needed to be hospitalized after coming into contact with the meteorite. One of these people grew so ill that they needed to be supported with an oxygen mask at all hours of the day. Scientists have been spending the last few years trying to determine why the meteorite caused everyone to get sick. The problem is that they've found no reason why the meteorite would have emitted any sort of strange odor, nor have they been able to determine why it caused so many people to become ill. In reality, it's possible that the sickness wasn't caused by the meteor at all. It's possible that the impact of the meteor may have exposed a gas or other harmful substance that had been buried inside the Earth for countless years. If the impact released this gas or substance into the nearby village, it would make sense that several people fell ill. However, this is just a theory, and in reality, we have no idea what could have caused this. Human feet found in the Salish Sea. This unsolved mystery is super odd and may never be explained. It's a story that you may have heard before, but most people have no idea that this strange occurrence is actually happening. The story takes us to the Salish Sea, a body of water that stems from Washington State all the way to Vancouver Island in Canada. This body of water holds a very dark secret that most people are unaware of. Dozens of human feet have washed ashore over the last few decades. These feet seem to be washing ashore without any other body parts attached to them. Most of them are discovered by visitors of the nearby beaches who will be enjoying a nice day in the sun when they stumble across a human foot. Police have been called to the scene dozens of times, with the feet being taken in for further testing. More often than not, the feet belong to an unidentified individual. Sometimes the feet will have shoes attached to them, but other times they're barefoot. Police in the area have never been able to determine where the feet are coming from. Most officers believe that they belong to people who were involved in accidents in the area or those who have taken their own lives while out at sea. However, the truth is, researchers truly don't have any idea where the feet originated. It's possible that a violent criminal is lurking in the area. However, the truth may be far less scary. Well, sort of. If you've ever seen a person floating in the water, you've probably noticed that their limbs all seem to float around as if they're weightless. If you've ever floated on your back in a swimming pool or in a nearby lake, you know that it's very easy for the waves in the water to cause your arms or legs to move around freely. The theory that most people believe claims that when the body of a person who's no longer living falls into the water, their bodies will sink for a short time, then float to the surface, then sink again. When their bodies sink for a second time, all of their limbs will flop around in the water as waves pass by. It's believed that after spending weeks, months, or even years in the water, the waves will cause your limbs to break loose from your body, resulting in feet or legs floating around aimlessly in the water. But this begs the question, why have no arms or heads ever been found? Why only feet? The world may never know. Ghosts of the American Civil War. Most of us are aware of the American Civil War that took place many years ago. We all know that many of the battles of the war were incredibly violent and claimed the lives of a large percentage of the United States population. However, what most people cannot explain is why so many ghost sightings have taken place at former Civil War battlegrounds. In fact, disembodied voices and screams have been heard near Gettysburg, where some of the worst battles took place. Visitors who travel to Gettysburg each year often come back home with reports of seeing ghostly shadows walking around the fields or even hearing voices shouting for help. No one knows why these locations seem to be so overwhelmingly haunted because, as far as we know, ghosts are nothing more than a figment of our imagination. Or are they? The secret ghostly handprint. This story takes us to Chicago in 1924. A team of firefighters was called to a building that was billowing with smoke. The fighters felt as though they'd be able to control the blaze very quickly. However, without notice, a large fire erupted and sent one of the outer walls of the building crashing down, burying 8 firemen underneath the blaze. They all lost their lives. Francis Levy was one of these firemen. When his coworkers returned to work in the days after the incident, they did their best to conduct business as usual. However, as one of the workers was cleaning one of the windows of the building, he noticed a large handprint that had been stuck to the glass. Immediately, he recognized the handprint as belonging to Francis Levy, one of the deceased firemen. This may seem far-fetched. However, a fingerprint analysis by police concluded that the print did, in fact, belong to Francis. None of the workers recalled seeing the fingerprint before. They tried to clean it off the window, but it seemed to have been permanently etched onto the glass. The window pane would remain in the building with the handprint intact for 20 years before it finally broke and shattered in 1944. Shanti Devi. Some cases are truly unbelievable, and that seems to be true for Shanti Devi, a young girl who claimed she was reincarnated. Many religions around the world believe in reincarnation. These religions often teach that the soul will break away from the human body after the body is no longer alive. After this happens, the soul will become attached to another living being, allowing the person to live a new life over and over again. According to Hinduism, the body that this person will inhabit completely depends on their good deeds while they were alive. One of the most unexplainable cases of reincarnation occurred back in the 1930s in India. India is known for having unique views on religion, with reincarnation being taught and believed all throughout the region. One of the craziest stories involves a girl named Shanti Devi. Shanti may have looked and acted like any other girl her age, but her story is far different from anything another child had ever shared before, with Shanti claiming to have memories of a life long before she was actually born. According to her parents, one of the first sentences she began to say was, "You're not my mom." This may seem odd for a small child, but kids are always shouting the most bizarre things that, more often than not, make no sense whatsoever. Her parents didn't think too much of this at first, but the girl refused to let it go and began to insist that her parents were not really her parents. She began to claim that she was a grown woman trapped in a young girl's body, insisting that she was married and had already given birth to a child of her own. Obviously, her parents had no reason to believe her, so they felt as though she was just making things up and letting her childhood imagination run wild. She began to tell stories about how she'd lived once before and that she was married to a cloth merchant who lived in Mathura. This could have easily been dismissed as the girl having a wild imagination, but she soon began giving very vivid descriptions of what her former husband looked like, as well as telling stories about their family business and the child she claimed to have given birth to. After a while, everyone in Shanti's community began to learn about the girl's bizarre claims. Word spread rapidly that this girl claimed to have been reincarnated, though no one believed that something like this would be possible. While most people in the area did believe in the idea of reincarnation, there had never been another situation in which a person could accurately remember their past lives. So, how was young Shanti able to do this? Before long, Shanti's school teacher came up with an idea that was supposed to put these wild claims to rest once and for all. The teacher took it upon herself to mail a letter to Mathura, addressed to the location where Shanti claims to have once lived. The man from the cloth shop said that all of the claims the girl was making were true. In fact, his wife had passed away, and every detail that Shanti provided was accurate. The man asked the girl a few questions as well, and she was able to answer each question accurately. No one was ever able to explain how this young girl was able to recount her alleged former life. Disaster at the Dyatlov Pass. This is a relatively short case, as most details remain unknown. Back in 1959, a group of 9 hikers set out on a journey in the Soviet Union near Dyatlov Pass. They were all experienced hikers and planned to hike to Vizhai, arriving on February 14th. However, the hikers never arrived. A search team was sent to rescue them and soon found that all 9 had passed away from unexplained injuries. Some had broken ribs, others had internal injuries, and one had been beaten at the base of the skull. However, there was no sign of a fight or battle, and no one was ever able to determine what had happened to the men and women that day. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more videos.